Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBud Solutions. Hope that you guys are all having an amazing Sunday. Welcome to our Sunday Stock Talk, where we come together and talk about the top stocks that our viewers see value in. If you guys have never tuned on in but you want to participate, again, all we ask you to do is make sure you subscribe. You should be able to partake in that little live chat that is provided for you on this live stream. You do have to be subscribed to be able to partake in that live chat. So just a little heads up, but without further ado, again, all I literally ask you to do is share your top stock in that live chat. And if you want me to break it down and share my 2 cents, I'd be more than happy to do so. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen so you guys can see exactly what it is that I'm looking at. I do want to let you guys know that we have some big tech reporting earnings this upcoming week, and we also have the FOMC rate hike on the 26th of July, right? So it's going to be Wednesday of this week, and then we have, the NASDAQ rebalance that's going to happen tomorrow, Monday. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see if NASDAQ ends up selling off, if NASDAQ ends up recovering, and what happens to big tech as well, right? So without further ado, again, some of the big tech companies are reporting earnings this week. Meta is one of them. So Meta does report earnings this week, and they're going to be reporting on the 26th of July. So that should be Wednesday of this up and coming week. Meta has had an amazing run for 2023. As you guys can see, consistent higher highs and higher lows. A recent pullback as overall markets have been pulling on back, but nothing too crazy. We also have Alphabet, which is the obviously mother company of Google, reporting earnings, and as you can see here, they have set to report earnings. I want to say Wednesday or Tuesday of this upcoming week. I think it's Tuesday of this week, and then the other one is going to be Microsoft. So we have Microsoft reporting earnings this week. Let's go ahead and check out their earning date. So the 25th, so also on Tuesday, very bullish, consistent higher highs. So it's going to be very interesting to see really with Alphabet and with Microsoft. One of the things, right before we get right into it, I don't know if you guys agree on this, but one of the things that I've recently noticed is that a lot of companies are beating expectation when it comes down to earnings, yet a lot of these stocks are still selling off. I mean, Netflix, we have Tesla, right? Although they beat expectation and or exceeded expectation, they still sold off. So I want to see if this pattern continues as big tech reports earnings, because you have to remember, if something like Microsoft or something like Google begins to sell off, I mean, we're not talking about small companies. Microsoft has one of the larger market caps for companies that are publicly traded at 2.56 trillion. If we look at something like Google, it sits at 1.53 trillion, right? Obviously, the influence that they have to overall markets is going to be quite a bit. So something to take into consideration on once these reports come out after the market closes on Tuesday and on Wednesday, to see how overall NASDAQ and S&P 500 react, right? But let's go ahead and get right into it. So if you want me to break down your stock, make sure you drop a thumbs up, and feel free to share your thoughts in that live chat. So let's go ahead, and I'm actually going to move this little live chat on over here just so I can see it while I break it down for you guys. So one of the first ones that's being asked to be broken down is a firm. I actually haven't heard of this company, or I haven't followed up with it in quite some time after it sold off, right? So I had an aggressive sell-off. Anytime I see a company like this, it really makes me lose hope. That's just my opinion. But from 176 to overall lows of $8, this kind of just reminds me of like people that like hold a position for a very long period of time and are still hopeful, kind of like the AMC and the GME people, right, where they still think something is going to happen, just because maybe it has a small little rally, they get a glimmer of hope, and then it just crashes once again, right? With a firm, I would say it shows those very similar characteristics. This is almost like a perfect example of something where it's almost the exact opposite of what I would want to trade or what I would want to invest in. Direction is not favorable. It continues to form lower highs and lower lows. And although it's not necessarily forming lower lows anymore, right, because it hit lows at $8.62 and now it's trading at $17, we have this very common resistance range right around $20. So unless it really begins to actually show signs of higher highs and higher lows, then great. But other than that, I mean, I couldn't imagine there being much hope for something like a firm based off of this aggressive sell-off that has been happening since the start of 2022. So something to follow up with. And yeah, let's go ahead and break down American Airlines. American Airlines is another company that reported positive or better than expected earnings, and the stock itself sold off, right? I mean, you guys saw my short position on American Airlines when it aggressively sold off. I began to step on the gas. Now it's beginning to show some signs of a support. I think it's a little bit too early to tell, right? If it's going to actually begin to recover or if it's actually going to continue to sell off. I still have my 1,000 shares shorting American Airlines. So I left 1,000 shares after I closed out my much larger position when it was aggressively selling off, right? That's when we talk about position size, right? If you're part of LPP, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If there's an active downtrend or an active uptrend, I wouldn't mind having a very large position depending on which side, the stock is going. But when it begins to consolidate, we don't know if it's going to begin to recover or if it's going to continue to sell off, which is why I reduced my position size. So just food for thought there. So I'm going to set my alerts, and I would be more than happy to follow up with this if this thing begins to sell off. I mean, there's definitely downside potential based off of recent patterns. A lot of downside right back down to the $12 to $13 range. But as of right now, we're still holding above the moving average, and we're testing support. So we'll see if it does find support. If it begins to recover, then again, great. We have our previous resistance right back at that $19, $20 resistance range. But if it begins to sell off, then it's going to be quite exciting to see, as we break through those support zones. All right, let's go ahead and break down ET. So ET looks like it has been forming higher highs and higher lows. So this is one of the characteristics of, or one of the criteria that I like a stock to meet, right? We have a very simple kind of like ideology within our LPP team, and it's like, keep it simple and make sure that direction is favorable. When it comes down to you being a beginner, obviously, mistakes will be made. So what conditions can you be in that make it less risky, right? There's no question that you're going to take bad trades when you're just getting started. But again, one of the things that I like to focus on is that as a beginner, if you focus on stocks that continuously indicate signs of an uptrend, even if your entry is horrible based off of overall direction, it looks like most likely will end up recovering, right? And that's the thing, its direction is so favorable that even if you do take a bad entry or you bought more than what you originally expected, or it's not going up as much as you expected, again, as long as direction still remains the same, still above the moving average and forming higher highs and higher lows, because the overall focus is direction, again, you're at least putting yourself in a better quality position. Obviously, any open position is open to risk, but again, by direction being favorable, it just makes it more ideal. When looking a little bit closer, I could see that it has really low volume. This personally would be a red flag for me. It's just not something that I would personally trade myself because of that volume, and that is a criteria. So now seeing that and how low the volume is, it's just not something that I would personally trade myself. It also looks like it's just coming back from 52-week highs, so it looks like it might be able to pull on back, but we'll have to wait and see. Overall, I like how it's forming higher highs and higher lows. It's just too overbought for me, meaning that it's too expensive. I would like for it to pull on back, and then we can wait and see if it goes back to retest the moving average like it did before. And just like we explained in the LPP lesson library, the 3 stages of a reversal when it comes down to bouncing off of the support on the moving average on the day chart. So it's something we'll have to follow up with. And if you see value in it, all power to you. Just for me, it doesn't meet my criteria. All right. Again, where are you? I'm in my office. What do you mean? I don't get the question. All right, so Nicola, please, if you guys want me to break down your stock, all I ask you to do is to share it in that live chat. You do have to be subscribed, so just a little heads up on this. So Nicola has been a tornado, right? Consistent lower highs and lower lows. If I can draw a textbook pattern on a consistent descending stock, I would say that that Nicola would be as close to perfect as possible. A stock that is consistently selling off and consistently losing value. Imagine going from a market cap of $31 billion when it was at highs of $93 and now being $1.79 billion as it trades at $2.50 a share. I mean, this is just, if this is how you want to trade and this is where you want to put your money, you're an adult, you can do whatever it is that you want. When it comes down to trying to put myself in a position to succeed, I want to make sure that direction is favorable, the stock is indicating signs of some form of potential, and that it's not just my hope that something happens, but that there's actual indication of that. And I don't see any of that for Nikola, and because of that, I would have to say, like the Shark Tank people, I'm out, right? Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So do I trade futures? I do not, but just because I don't doesn't mean that you can't, right? One of the things that I love to remind you is my do's and my don'ts are not anything that should personally limit you. If you see value in futures and it works well with you, and it's just something that you want to choose to pursue, I would encourage you to learn more about it, right? It doesn't cost to learn more, to see if it's a niche or an area or a market that could be suitable for you, right? I don't care if it's not something that I do myself. If you want to pursue any other avenue, take time, learn more about it, stop focusing so much about the money part, and actually try to understand what you're getting yourself into, right? I think that would be a good piece of advice for people that are just getting started. So let's go ahead and break down Meta, because Meta is about to report earnings. So I appreciate Sebastian asking for me to break this one down. So Meta on the day chart, obviously from lows of 88 to highs of 300, insane recovery for 2023. Let's be honest. I know some of you out there, including myself, kind of questions Meta's potential to recover since it gapped down and had one of its most, what was it? Like when it reported earnings and it lost like 25%, it was like losing $200 billion in market cap. And it was the most to have ever been lost in history or something like that in just a few minutes. Pretty insane, right? And look at it now, right? I would say even if it does pull on back, Meta does have earnings coming up on Wednesday of this upcoming week. So it's going to be interesting to see if they exceed expectation and guidance is good, to see if it begins to pop off again or if it actually begins to sell off. Remember, there's a trend right now that even if companies do exceed expectation for earnings, they still end up selling off. So that kind of does suck. But overall, again, I would say even if it does pull back a little bit, it's not going to hurt much, right? Especially for long-term investors. I would get pretty excited if it does pull on back. At least it lets me get in at a better price point, especially if it continues to actually show this signs of a recovery. So something that we'll have to follow up with. But as of right now, beautiful ascending uptrend pattern above the moving average. But again, all of this can change in a matter of a minute as soon as earnings is released, right? Earnings, this thing can sell off right below that moving average, or pop right through that resistance. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And I would love to follow up with Meta by Thursday of next week, or Thursday of this week, and to see where it's actually at. So I'm planning on live streaming the Microsoft, Google, and Meta earnings this week on the YouTube channel. So again, just another reason, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the channel. And I would love for you to experience what it's like to watch these huge tech companies report earnings and watching the market react. Here it goes. Let's go ahead and move on. I like that. Clark, I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. I'm going to go ahead. I like that message so much. I'm going to pin it. All right, here we go. So VSCO. Again, if you want me to break down your stock, just feel free to share it in the live chat. So overall day chart looks like from when it IPO'd, it peaked at $76. Ever since then, lower highs, lower lows. I'm not too sure. So bouncing off of the 50 moving average, you're probably looking at closer time frames. Yeah, probably on the 4 hour or something like that. We're still getting rejected by the moving average. Remember, let me just put it this way. You should not sell yourself the idea that this stock has to recover. If you are telling yourself, no, look, it's actually doing something. One of the things that I think that can be a really healthy habit for everyone, and again, this is just my opinion, but if you play your own devil's advocate, meaning that anytime that you think about entering a position of like, hey, I think that Victoria's Secret can go up, right? How about you come up with reasons on why it won't, right? Imagine every single time that you're thinking about doing something that you actually kind of draw out all of the risk in your head, and or you have your trading journal and you write it all out, right? How many bad trades will you avoid? And it just really comes down to how bad you want it, right? I could figure out so many different reasons on why I would not get into Victoria's Secret. The very simple ones would be, it's a consistent descending pattern. It continues to lose value. And why would I put my money in something that is not indicating any signs of growth? What? Is it because it's at 52-week lows? What do we know about that? The cheap can always get cheaper, right? So why would I throw my money at something hoping for something to happen when it's not indicating any signs of that? It just doesn't make sense, right? So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So no Tesla yet. Let's go ahead and break it down. So I'd be more than happy to break down Tesla. So we talked about it last week, but Tesla reported earnings, actively selling off on the day chart, right back down to that EMA. If we look at this on the 4-hour time frame, we're getting close to that moving average. So it's going to be quite interesting to see. I think this week and next week is going to be very interesting as we have the FOMC rate decision this Wednesday, and we also have big tech reporting earnings this week and big tech reporting earnings next week. So it's going to be pretty choppy. One of the things that I love to remind people is that if you are aware that earnings is coming up and that earnings are very volatile, create very volatile markets, and you're someone that's just getting started, understand that conditions are not going to be super clear. Conditions are not going to be super favorable. So if you're someone that's actually trying to be very, very selective with the way that you choose to trade, then maybe holding back and not over trading or not trading at all isn't the worst idea, right? It's better than putting yourself in a very bad position. You end up bag holding, and then you end up like every other AMC bag holder in the comment section, punching air, hoping that AMC still recovers, right? Oh, is that a little too mean? But I mean it, right? Like, why put yourself in a position that maybe you just haven't experienced yet? If this is the first time that you're trading and trying to take it seriously, and it's the first time that you've ever seen earnings being reported, then maybe it's not a bad time to kind of take a step back and just watch and try to understand and learn before you actually begin to do, right? Let's go ahead and just do 3 more breakdowns, and then I will call it a live stream. I don't want to take too much of your guys' time, and I know we have a really busy week this week with our LPP team. We will be trading live tomorrow at Market Open. Just a little heads up for all of you guys. It's the second link in the description down below if you want to be able to watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow. And yes, it is a one-time payment, lifetime access, and it is $175 off right now, which is our biggest discount that we offer. Let's go ahead and move on to AGEN. So I appreciate you taking time and asking for me to break this down. So when looking at this on the day chart, again, at least for me, nothing about this seems like, a very simple concept. Wow, am I missing out by not being invested in this? Or wow, am I missing out by not trading this? Because there's 2 different approaches. There's 2 different intentions, right? Investing would mean like, wow, this thing is an active uptrend for a long period of time. Maybe I should be invested. Or, hey, this thing is popping off right now based off of recent news. Maybe it's something that I want to personally trade. Nothing about this is attractive. Continuous lower highs, lower lows, right? Anytime that it tries to pop off, it sells right back off. And yes, it does pop off from time to time, but that small time that it does pop off, just look at how many, there's more red days than there are green days. And because of that, this is just a huge red flag. It's like being in a toxic relationship and then just talking about the few 1 or 2 things that make the relationship somewhat intriguing, right? But look, they're kind of nice to me when they're not hitting me. It's just like, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to use that analogy. But I love using analogies just because it puts things into perspective, and I want to humanize this as much as possible. For this and something like this, it's just like, why can't we understand that the risk is greater than the potential reward, at least based off of current conditions? So let's go ahead and move on to the next one, SOXL. We've already broken this one down before. Actually, no, wait, let me double check. Nope. So based off recent patterns, it has been an active uptrend. Yep, looks like it's currently pulling on back to the moving average. We'll see if it bounces off here, breaks above the EMA. I would kind of use the 3 stages of reversal that we talk about in LPP, right? So right now we're in the rejection to consolidation phase. We're definitely not indicating signs of an uptrend just yet, but I would set my alert. And if this thing begins to indicate signs of an uptrend, then at least at that point you have your confirmation. But based off of overall direction, just not super, super favorable. It looks like it's been selling off since the start of 2022. Looks like it's been trying to make a recovery. I would have to look a little bit more into it to actually decide if this is something that I would personally want to partake in. But based off of this nice little pullback, I could entertain this of like, I will probably follow up with this tomorrow and maybe ask the question of like, is this something that would meet my criteria to personally trade myself? But this one's probably my favorite so far that's been shared in this live chat. So, all right. What else? So DG. All right, Dollar General. Again, another huge red flag. Just a lot of consolidation up here, and then it's been selling off ever since then. Same thing, let's follow up with it. I saw someone asking me to break down TGT, which is Target. A lot of consolidation, no indication of an uptrend, right? A lot of people are paying attention to Target because of the controversy that's been going on with it. I don't care about the controversy. My thing is like, is this indicating signs of an uptrend? Could this make me money? And as of right now, I mean, it could if it actually begins to recover, but it's not recovering right now. It's consolidating. If this is in the 3 stages of a reversal, again, going back to LPP, rejection, consolidation, no confirmation just yet. So because of that, it doesn't meet my criteria, and I just won't trade it. Very simple, right? LMT. So I know I'm doing a little bit more than what I said, but I just want to break these down if I can. So LMT, okay. So overall direction is a little bit more favorable. Looks like we're getting a lot of consolidation down here. I would have to look a little bit more into it. It looks like it popped off to highs of 479, recent pullback. Looks like it's trying to show signs of a support. I would be hoping that it pops off. And again, hope is never a good thing to try to rely on when it comes down to a trade, as there's no indication of that. But based off of overall recent patterns, yeah, I mean, it's too choppy with this one. It would be very risky. It's too early to tell right now, where I would set my alert if it actually does begin to indicate signs of an uptrend, then maybe I can better entertain that. But as of right now, I just wouldn't know because of how much volatility there's been with, it trading at 500 and then at lows of 400 and all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and just do one more BTG. So what is that? No, definitely don't like this one. Yeah, a lot of consolidation, no clear direction, no higher highs, no lower lows. I don't see anything here. Looks like it recently pulled on back, right? So maybe a small little trade from overall lows to previous highs, but that just wouldn't be worth it in my opinion. If it is for you, then that's up to you. And I could see that its volume is very, very low. Another big red flag on why I personally wouldn't trade it myself. It just doesn't meet my criteria. And when something doesn't meet my criteria, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time, right? But I try to the best of my ability to try to avoid things that don't actually meet that specific criteria. So just want to recap exactly what we're doing to prep for the overall week, right? We have FOMC rate decision that's going to happen on the 26th of July. So make sure that you are prepared for that because, again, there's a 99.2% probability, according to the Fed rate monitor tool, that the Federal Reserve is going to be increasing interest rates. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how the market reacts to that. Remember, I will be live streaming this for free on the YouTube channel, and this is the FOMC rate hike at 2 p.m. Eastern time. You will miss it if you are not subscribed to the channel. I know it's a lot to ask for some people. Subscribe. It's free. You'll get a notification. Turn on your post notifications to make sure that you get alerted when it is that I go live. NASDAQ futures as of right now look like they're in the green. It's going to be very interesting to see if NASDAQ in the morning, once the NASDAQ rebalance actually happens, which should be taking place as soon as tomorrow. We talked about the rate hike, and then the only other thing is earnings. Meta, Microsoft, and Alphabet, also known as Google, is reporting earnings this week. So make sure that you are aware and make sure that you prepare. If you're part of the LPP team or you end up joining by today, I want to remind you, within the first 3 videos of the course, we explain to you and show you how you get access to Discord and to be able to watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow, right? It's all explained to you within the first 3 videos of the lesson library. If you have any other questions beyond that, feel free to shoot me a direct message either via Instagram or via Discord, and that's the first or third link in the description down below. I appreciate your time. I hope that we're in a thumbs up. If you want to watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow, that's going to be the second link in the description down below. Until next time, like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.